brought to life on stage. One night only, April 23rd in Sacramento. For a limited time, early bird tickets are just $20. Text Churchill to 916-349-1039. That's Churchill to 916-349-1039.
Hi, I'm Kathy Hill, founder of Tax Tiger. Tax Tiger operates on the Christian principles of honesty and integrity. We're a full-service tax firm. Not only do we protect you from the IRS, we prepare your back taxes, release wage and bank levies, and negotiate the best settlements in the nation, many as low as $20. You can trust Tax Tiger to give you an honest and free appraisal of your situation. We will prepare your tax return every year, even if you have no IRS problem. We specialize in settlements and audits. You could be closer to financial freedom than you think, and you need a tiger on your side.
Call Tax Tiger for a free consultation now. 916-393-9085. That's 916-393-9085.
I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service also allows me to be there for my community in ways others can't. I help my hometown recover after nature strikes. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country and those I care about safe from threat. I also work with a network of professionals that help me succeed. Also, the Army National Guard's education benefits make getting a higher education a reality. Being an Army National Guard soldier makes living and serving in my community more rewarding every day. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Did the caller know your social security number or other personal information and tell you that your social security number had been used in connection with a crime? Did you feel worried that your social security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Vince Bloom, the big dog,
and 9-week-old O'Malley, the newest canine companions puppy, sponsored by Lasher's Elk Grove Subaru.
You know how they say the best things come in small packages? Well, O'Malley here is a perfect example. He's a black 9-week-old Labrador Retriever, destined for service. They also say the best Elk Grove Subarus come with small financing. How does 1.9% sound? This month at Lasher's Elk Grove Subaru, you can get financing as low as 1.9% for up to 48 months on new 2022 Subaru Ascents, Outbacks, Foresters, Legacies, Crosstreks, and Imprezas. That's right, 1.9% financing for up to 48 months on a new 2022 Subaru. How can you resist that? How can you resist that little face? You can't. Only at Lasher's Elk Grove Subaru. The Elk Grove Auto Mall and online at elkgrovesubaru.com. For over 60 years, our name means a great deal.
1.9% APR for 48 months is $21.65 per month per $1,000 borrowed. For qualified buyers upon approved credit, must take delivery from dealer stock. See dealer for details.
We'll even help you get there with free airfare for second guest. Plus, enjoy free open bar, free specialty dining, and more. Visit ncl.com, call your travel advisor, or 1-888-NCL-CRUISE. Offer ends soon. Norwegian Cruise Line. Sail safe, feel free.
Your break for Bacon Bite. Ah, yes, the open road. Just you and your hunger. And if you listen carefully, you can hear what it's craving. Bacon. Extra bacon. 4 strips of crispy bacon stacked on a charbroiled beef patty with melty cheese. Satisfy your bacon craving with the Bacon Beast Burger or the Bacon Beast Burrito with melty cheese for breakfast. Try the new Bacon Beast menu from Carl's Jr. Feed your happy. Available for a limited time at participating Carl's Jr. restaurants. Bacon Beast Burrito available during regular breakfast hours. Price participation may vary.
Hi, it's Andrew with Coastside Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical breakthrough. The WAVE technology at Coastside Clinic was tested by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic, and the results are in. It's proven to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED by treating the root cause, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. I don't think I've ever seen it fail. This is a $600 value, free to those that call in the next 2 minutes. 916-603-2000. That's 916-603-2000.
Honda's fuel efficiency, reliability, and style are legendary. Honda has the happiest drivers in America and is the most fun to drive, period. And with thousands of new Hondas on the way and happy customers taking delivery daily, it's Honda by a landslide. And if there is a landslide, you'll thank your sweet donkey elephant that you drive a Honda. Just ask anyone who owns one. See your NorCal Honda dealer now through President's Day for very happy savings on Civic, Accord, CRV, HRV, Pilot, and more. Come in and buy or reserve yours today.
Happiest drivers based on the 2021 American Customer Satisfaction Index survey of customers rating the performance of their own automobiles.
For more information, ask anyone who owns a Honda or visit NorCalHondaDealers.com. This message is approved by millions of happy Honda owners.
Which changes a night that sounds like this into a night that sounds more like this. That's better. NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine.
Hey, thanks for coming over, Jake from State Farm. Couldn't say no, Pablo. I love me some vinyl. Well, my budget doesn't. Calling time on my vinyl collecting. Whoa! Don't give up what you love. State Farm has options like insuring your home and ride with great rates on both. Ooh, that's music to my ears. All right, spend that vinyl. For surprisingly great rates, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Financial aid is available to help with tuition, books, and sometimes even the rent. It's time to take the next big step. Classes can fill up quickly, so enroll today at icangotocollege.com.
Means you can do more for less. Like making dishwashing easier with this KitchenAid dishwasher, complete with third-level rack and a Pro Wash cycle that adapts to each load. Enjoy savings on top-rated appliances online, in-store, or on the Home Depot app. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only while supplies last. Valid February 10th through March 2nd, 2022. Free delivery applies to orders of $396 or more.
Unforgettable stories on Disney Plus, like Marvel Studios' Eternals.
Speech from listener.
And Disney's Encanto.
This is my chance.
Fan favorites on Hulu like Pen 15 and The Great. And epic sports on ESPN Plus, like Man in the Arena, Tom Brady, and over 1,000 NHL games. Get the Disney bundle today for only $13.99 a month. Includes Hulu ad-supported plan. Access content from each service separately.
Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper-gig speeds. Say hello to the Walkers, a family of not one but 4 gagillionaires, each living up their gagillionaire life at ludicrous internet speed. First up, Anna Walker. She dominates streaming like the matriarch she is. No show ever goes unwatched under her watch.
Next episode.
Next up, Peter Walker. There's no stopping this dad bod from showing up to his virtual workout sessions.
Let's go leg day.
And finally, the Walker twins. They may look alike but couldn't internet more differently. Harry dominates his fellow online gamers while Heather group video chats with friends.
Ooh, nice background filter, Jess.
Live like a gagillionaire. Get internet that upgrades everything. AT&T Fiber, now with speeds up to 5 gigs.
Limited availability in select areas. Speeds not guaranteed. Single device wired speed. Max 4.7 gig per second. Visit att.com/hypergeek for details.
The change makers, innovators, and visionaries uplifting their communities. If that's you, you won't want to miss the chance to power even greater possibilities. Enter the AT&T Black Future Makers contest for a chance to win $10,000 and an AT&T 5G-enabled device. You got this. Learn more at attdreaminblack.com/contest. Must be 18 and older. Other restrictions apply.
Emmy, 24, hardworking Latina.
But there were other reasons I felt like I couldn't always be myself.
My grandmother was arrested for working with the Mexican drug cartel.
This is Crumbs, my love story. It's a show about the things we settle for and the bits of ourselves that make us who we are. Listen to Crumbs on the iHeart-Radio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Charlton of Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to people who love sports and never be beat. All squares out of war. Round of the Deportes, Bonjour, des Bitty Bitty Bitty. I love saying welcome to the show today. It's a beautiful February the 25th, 2022. And I'm telling you, it's a beautiful, beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in California. That's why I love saying you can follow Big C Sports all over the universe on 23 podcast applications. You can follow Big C Sports on, it's amazing, 23 is a lot. Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple, iHeart-Radio podcast, Castbox podcast. You can also follow on Deezer podcast. I got to catch my breath. You can follow on Podcast Addict and then Pod Chaser. Give me some praise. Come on. It's hard to count to 10 after eating a big cheeseburger. It takes a long time to digest. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on Usabon Podcast out of London, England, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes Podcast, Podcast Wise, Podbase, and the only one that scares me is allfeeds.ai. Give it some praise. The computers are taking over. The computers, wait, they already have taken over. That's why we have podcast streaming all around the universe. You can also follow Big C Sports Podcast on 4 TV platforms. Really do appreciate that. You can follow on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that with Big C Sports Podcast. You know, I love also on this beautiful day. It's so beautiful in California. It feels like summertime, but I think we just it was just snowing up in the Sierra Nevada just over the couple of days ago. And now it's really, really hot in California. It's a beautiful day, actually. It's a beautiful day. Won't you be my neighbor? I want to pay homage to my family legacy. Love doing that. And on my mother's side, my great grandmother, the matriarch of the family, called her Mamo. Just a wonderful, beautiful woman. Always done what it took to keep the family strong, and just made sure everybody had a lot of food in the belly. Really do appreciate that. And then my great grandfather, Pop, he's a former Negro League baseball player, known around the church from his buddies of making the best moonshine in the universe. And saying, boys, get out of that bar before lightning strikes. He even tried to create lightning one time. It's crazy. Oh, man, life's funny. It makes me laugh every time. And then my grandmother, Muddia, a beautiful person, very smart, intelligent. She was a seer. She could see people and tell you a lot of things about their lives, what's happening, and what happened in the past, the present, and the future. Really do appreciate all of her love and wisdom. My grandfather, Hezekiah, another wonderful gentleman, just doing everything he could to keep the family strong. And then my beautiful mother, I'm saying this, the most beautiful mother in the history of the universe, started a Head Start program, a food program, and helped our Little League team win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give a mama praise. I love giving mom praise. Praise, praise, praise. Come on, a Head Start program, a food program so no child will go to bed hungry, working weldly with the church, and then also helping win the Little League Championship of the universe. Really do appreciate that. Always saying rise and shine. That's where I get that from also. On my father's side, the patriarch of the family, my grandfather, Albert Curry, a wonderful man, a smart businessman. He was also a pastor, had 2 churches in Oakland, California, built a 3rd church in Central California, also owned 2 service stations in Oakland, California, always working hard, very smart gentleman. And then my grandmother, Alberta Curry, working hand in hand with my grandfather, very smart lady, working with the 2 churches in Oakland, also helping build the 3rd church in Central California and running the 2 service stations in Oakland. Really do appreciate her wisdom. And then my father, former retired Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, making sure planes can fly high so we could all stay safe at night. Always saying develop your mind to its highest extent. And my beautiful brother, Todd. Todd's voice sounds like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Very powerful voice, always reading, voracious reader. And again, I love saying our favorite movie was Scarface, but we thought that was a little bit too violent, so we settled on Pulp Fiction. when Vin Rames throws Bruce Willis in the boxing match, your butt goes down in the 4th round. And he said, that stinging sensation you're feeling, that's pride fluffing with you. Well, fluff pride. I thought that was funny. See, I got away with it. Really do appreciate that. One of our favorite movies ever. And then I always love paying homage to my beautiful children. My beautiful daughter, Daisy, the most beautiful daughter in the history of the universe. She's very smart, intelligent, hardworking. Graduated with 2 degrees with honors from a major university in 3.5 years. She also helped me set up the very first interview with Big C Sports back at Salem Media. And then when I started doing the Big C Sports podcast, she actually helped me get coaches enrolled for different programs when they came to the West Coast for Big C Sports. Really do appreciate Daisy. And then my beautiful son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. Malcolm's very smart, college student, industrious, hardworking. I always tell Malcolm, Wakanda forever! Really do appreciate Malcolm. Sends me stats on NBA basketball. Knows the NBA inside and out. Has a very bright future ahead of him. Always go forward, Malcolm. Always protect your family. And then my partner, Big C, with all of his wealth and knowledge in the past. You gotta believe, you gotta believe, you gotta believe. I want to say give everybody some praise. Give everyone praise, praise, praise. And that's how Big C Sports came to what it is today. And I just love giving it out. And again, what I love to say, my great-grandfather, Pop, they started this when he came with his church buddies. Let's get ready to rumble! And I love to say welcome to the show. ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. No scripts, no 3-minute teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do the show with my higher self, and I walk and talk by faith and not by sight. I think I'm the only sports show, and I think I've checked a lot of them, I'm the only sports show in the universe that gives you fresh shows every day. Just like fresh cookies, you don't want 3-day-old cookies. You want them fresh right out of the oven. Oh, my goodness, I got to go after Krispy Kreme. If you've ever had a Krispy Kreme donut, when they come right out of that little oven, it's a little, like a rotator cuff, whatever it is. It's a belt, conveyor belt. And the donuts fall off of the conveyor belt onto the little pan. That's when you get them fresh. Now, could you imagine going back to Krispy Kreme and they serve you a 3-day-old donut? You wouldn't want that. Same thing with the Big C Sports. It's fresh. A lot of sports shows, you hear them recycle their shows 3 and 4 times. The same show in the same day. The same bat time, the same bat channel. Big C Sports does it fresh, like Krispy Kreme donuts right out of the oven, all fair in love and war. And then, as I also say for Big C Sports Podcast, I always walk by faith and talk by sight. I walk by faith and talk by sight as I talk by faith and walk by sight. I'm doing both. I'm still trying to digest that Big C burger, but I produce the topics, I broadcast the shows, I do all of the sound effects based on what's provided by the agency. We can all use more laughter in our lives. And then at the same time, the commercials are done, the stats are provided. I love doing the play-by-play. And tonight you may have heard Steph, what was the name? James Harden, 4-3. That good old boy having his debut with the Philadelphia 76ers with a great Joel Embiid. All fair and love and war. A lot of big-time players making big-time plays for new teams. Isn't it something? They're not going to finish where they started. Where a lot of things happen in life that way. And then I never miss a show on Big C Sports Podcast. I upload to 23 multiple podcast platforms all over the world. And then it goes out also streaming on 4 TV platforms. Really do appreciate that, the way technology works. And one of my favorite scriptures that I love using for my show is Genesis chapter 13, verse 15. I heard it a lot when I was a little boy growing up. It says, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever." And also the book of James chapter 4, verse 2 said, ye have not because ye ask not. If you want something, just ask and give the good book some praise. You got to give it praise, praise, praise. Imagine everything in your life at this time right now. At one time, it was just a thought. I love also saying thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, when God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phones or electronic devices, just like Captain Kirk used to do, and say, "Play Big C Sports Podcast," and you'll see our apps pop up all over the world. In fact, all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. I love talking about these sports marketing agency, getting certification to become a sports marketing agent for Big C Sports with one of the top agents in the country. Really do appreciate that, inviting me in, working to sign NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball players. And in fact, the agencies If you look at the Forbes magazine in the last decade, really in the last year, if you look at it, they have the top agents, the sports agents, and they signed collectively over $41.2 billion in contracts, generating nearly $2 billion in commissions. So that's the industry also Big C Sports is expanding into. So, I mean, just so much good happening when you rise and shine every day and you do your show. Really do appreciate that. In fact, as for African Americans, there's still a lot of talk about why men can't get opportunities in the NFL, a game that's dominated by black men. But when it comes to coaching, oftentimes they get passed over for people who don't dominate the league. Doesn't make any sense. But sports marketing agencies is growing in the top 20, actually the top 10 NFL draft picks last year. Top 5 were represented by black men. They were not begging owners for a job interview. They were going out becoming part of the industry that contributed over $41 billion in contracts. Average coach may get a contract between $3 million and $5 million a year. And oftentimes, even if you're good, you may keep the job 2 or 3 years and they'll let you go. But sports marketing agents, they're not worried about being fired by an owner. They just stick to the contract, help as many players as they can. And that's why the money's so good. Really do appreciate that. I also want to say thank you. Man, tonight, what do Rogers do say? Tonight, gotta win that California lottery. I want to say thank you to the California lottery, whether it's Powerball or Mega Millions, Super Lotto, Fantasy 5, whatever it is. But I do love seeing this PSA that Steve Mariucci gave out, former coach of the 49ers. Now he works with the NFL Network. But for the NFL playoffs, he had a TV commercial, and he was doing the PSA. And in that PSA, it talked about people who are gambling. And if you have any issues, go to 800-GAMBLER. That's 800-GAMBLER, because you have a chance to get some help for people. Sometimes people bite off more than they can chew. We know the Supreme Court, they actually made it possible for most states to participate in gaming. And it's going through the roof. Really, I think they passed a law back in May of 2018. You can Google that. And they're allowing more and more states to gamble. Gaming's big. In fact, the NBA and Major League Baseball, they are lobbying states to cash in on sports betting. That means take money out of your pocket. So if you're going to play, just don't play more than you can afford to lose. There's billions of dollars being wagered at new legal sports books across the United States. And the NBA and Major League Baseball, they're aligning to reap some of the profits. This is a big business, so it makes you wonder, when you look at the point spread on games, are the leagues also concerned with point spreads? You got to think about it. I mean, the winners and losers of sports betting legalization, with every U.S. state now available to offer sports betting, professional sports owners are among the big winners. Think about that. Why would the sports owners want to be a part of betting in the United States? And the Supreme Court is behind it. And I know everybody has their own thoughts about what is it good or bad. Well, sports, people love betting because it makes it more exciting from what people have told me. And if I know that I don't bet. I mean, I buy a lottery ticket, but I'm just not a gambler. And I know that so many times, even if you go down to Las Vegas, you'll find people who are, kind of jacked up. It's not all beautiful, bright lights and fancy cars. So be careful. The Supreme Court made that possible even before they got the voting rights bill. But I also want to say that for the first time in the history of the United States, we have a black woman nominated to the Supreme Court by President Biden. Her name is Ketanji Brown Jackson, and that happened today. And obviously there may be some opposition from Republicans because they don't want more black people in power. They're going to say, oh, she's too conservative or not conservative enough. Which one is it? And so, too conservative or not conservative enough? Which one is it? But just congratulations on that. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court nomination by President Joe Biden, a sea change for black women in this country. In fact, for women, Biden nominates Brown Jackson today to be the first black woman on the Supreme Court. And it's a historic choice at the White House ceremony that happened today. And I'm so proud of that. I'm proud of it because of so many reasons. Think about it. The Supreme Court elevating a black woman the first time to a seat on the highest court in the country. At a formal White House ceremony this Friday afternoon, Biden said it's his honor to introduce to the country the daughter of former public school teachers, a proven consensus builder, an accomplished lawyer, distinguished jurist, one of the most in our nation, the most prestigious in our nation. The Supreme Court is a big deal, and I'm just proud that people keep striving. We all heard about the Kerner Commission over a half century ago, commissioned by Lyndon Baines Johnson, talked about the inequality in this United States of America, trying to form a more perfect union. But for too long, our government and our courts haven't looked like America. And President Biden said that he believed that it's time that we have a court that reflects the full talents and greatness of our nation with a nominee of extraordinary qualifications. And I'm really proud that we have a president right now that's willing to do this for the first time since 1619. Isn't that something? So for young people all over the country, just keep on pushing on, keep on rising and shining, keep on developing the mind to the highest extent. And I want to also give the president some praise for standing above the fray and all the other junk that goes on in politics, or opening up your eyes and nominating someone who's very talented and more than capable. But we know she's going to receive a little bit of pushback from some of the other people because they say, you know, she's too liberal. What else can they say? They used to say she's too black. Now they say she's too liberal. But if you look at the Supreme Court justices, they make up the law of the land. They enforce the law of the land, and really do appreciate seeing more diversity in that. Also, I want to say, and speaking of that, I want to make sure that I always pay homage to our Veterans Crisis Hotline. And the veterans make it possible for us to be free. You look what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia and all the garbage going on. I'm really, heart bleeds. We don't need another war. My goodness. But the Veterans Crisis Hotline, they will do everything they can. They will stand on their head to make sure our veterans get some help. If you know any veterans going through issues, and you don't have to be a veteran, but you can pick up the phone and get some help. 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can give them some praise because they will do everything they can to get our veterans some help. It's all fair and love and war. Really do appreciate that, the Veterans Crisis Hotline. I also want to say, because I love what I do so much, I want to say thank you to Budweiser Zero. You have 0% alcohol, but you're 100% on your game, sports fans. When you're watching the big game, you want to eat the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all this exotic meat. Also, what I've had a lot of today, coming through the Big C coffee. It's a tasty coffee. It comes with what's all those exotic beans, and why does the cup gotta be so big? I've also told you, coming soon, I had it in college. My mom used to make it what we call the Big C cookie. It's a tasty cookie, and it comes with what are all these exotic flavors? I appreciate that. The Big C burger, the Big C coffee, and the Big C cookie is all prepared in love and war. Really do appreciate that. Having a lot of fun today on a beautiful Friday for a Big C Sports Podcast. I'm hoping that everybody has a great weekend. I'm going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When I come back, I'm going to talk more about the sports. In the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator, I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, all known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV applications. Really do appreciate that. And it's amazing how we deal with so many great things. And when we talk about the United States of America, how great of a country we are, again, President Biden nominates Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to be the first black woman to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Really do appreciate that. A sea change in the way that politics are viewed. And for Black History Month, I want to talk about, really every day is Black History Month. All life began in Africa. It's amazing how we celebrate the first time that a black woman has been nominated to the Supreme Court of the land. Isn't that something? Frederick Douglass in Black History, Frederick Douglass' autobiography, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, he outlines his life and the subsequent escape from slavery, and which proved instrumental in the abolitionist movement and the ultimate goal of ending slavery in the United States. Now, Douglass lived during the Civil War era in the middle of the 19th century, and when you think about how much advancement has been made in the United States, he actually helped President Lincoln craft the Emancipation Proclamation. Isn't that something? Now, the file, when you think about him, a file on his life, an African-American social reformer, abolitionist, writer, Frederick Douglass. Douglass was the country's foremost black man in the Civil War era and the conscience of the abolitionist movement and beyond, and a popular choice for summing up the America's ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the failings of the country as well as the challenges. His withering 1852 oration in Rochester, New York, ranks high in the canon of American oratory and is still widely cited as a correlative to the day's celebratory spirit. It's amazing what Frederick Douglass did, and ironically, if you ever see his bronze statue of the 19th century orator and writer Frederick Douglass, is seen in Emancipation Hall at the United States Visitor Center on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Isn't that something? It was dedicated on June 19, 2013. It's a bronze statue, and it's just an amazing man that he was. And everything that we have today, oftentimes we take for granted that it was always that case, but it's not. And we all know that. So I really love bringing that to light for African American, what they call Black History Month. All's fair and love and well. We know a lot of things happen in the world that you just got to work to make it better. And I love doing my part with Big C Sports to make it better. That's just part of life. I want to also just say to everybody, man, I know there's a lot of athletes that have, they're from Russia or they're from Ukraine and they're torn. Not that they're torn. I know a lot of them have come out on television today and talked about how painful it is to have their native country, a lot of the hockey players, their native country, man, caught up in war. It's not even necessary. What's it all for? It doesn't make any sense. It does not at all. It just doesn't. But I do want to get on to the power rankings in the NBA. And this is everything after the All-Star break. As I mentioned, James Harden doing his thing tonight. And for Philadelphia, it's amazing. I thought he would have been with the Brooklyn Nets for a long time, but things changed. But things change. I want to say, let's get ready to rumble for Big C's power rankings for the NBA. It's amazing. I love this sport, but sometimes you don't know who plays with whom. There's just a lot of good things happening in the next 7 weeks before we get into the playoffs. James Harden tonight, Ben Simmons to be determined when he deals with the Nets to make their debuts for the Sixers and the Brooklyn Nets. It's time for a near total reset in Philadelphia and Brooklyn. The Phoenix Suns don't have to deal right now with Chris Paul. They got to figure out how to get around without Chris Paul if they can hold on to their top ranking in the NBA. But other contenders, the Golden State Warriors, the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, would probably like to find some kind of a rhythm after kind of having a hitch in their giddy up going into the All-Star break. The New Orleans Pelicans and the Sacramento Kings would surely like to get a couple of practices in with their new acquisitions. We'll see how that goes. The Kings were close to beating they had a game against Denver last night. They were down by 2, and then they ended up losing by 18. The game was a lot closer than the score indicates. All's fair, love, and war. But it's time to reset the power in the power rankings. And I like everybody's thoughts on can't wait to get another NBA championship series. Last year, it was 4-2 with Milwaukee beating the Phoenix Suns, even though Phoenix is up. I think they were up 2-0, and then went to Milwaukee, and they didn't get it. They never got the groove back. All's fair and love and war. But I'm going to start with my thoughts on Big C's NBA power rankings. I'm not going to do all 30 teams, but I'll do probably the top 15. The Phoenix Suns, everything has to go right for the Suns. They've won 18 of their last 19 games, but they don't have that coach on the floor by the name of King Chris Paul, who played in 148 of a possible 152 games in Phoenix. He broke his thumb against Houston on Wednesday, one of the teams he used to play for, and he could miss the rest of the regular season that may cost Phoenix a chance to hold on to the number one spot in Big C's NBA power rankings. But they look for backcourt help in the buyout market with, for now, the point guard position belongs to Cameron Payne. We'll see what happens. They got to get things figured out. They have a lot of leadership missing when they don't have Chris Paul on the floor. Now, Devin Booker, he's going to have to do his thing. That good old boy can also drop it in the bucket. This season is the opposite. Booker effective field goal percentage of 54% on 760 shots. Paul on the floor, just 43% on 300 shots. But Paul's on the bench now. It's going to have to be Booker's team. He's going to have to take the bull by the mantle, if that makes sense. Or would it be the bull by the horn? And if it doesn't listen, then you put the bull on the mantle. So, all's fair in love and war. I'm going to say number 2 in Big C's NBA power rankings. And everybody has their own thoughts about it. I just got to keep it real. I know I'm going to say it with a little bit of reservation. I think things will change as players get better, but I'm gonna say the Golden State Warriors are number 2 right now. And after their best start to this season, they had a really good start. The Warriors have been the best team in the league, and they're 2-1 against the Phoenix Suns, which is my number 1 seed at this time. But I think when everybody gets healthy, they're number 1. They beat them 2 out of 3, and when they get Draymond Green back, I think it's going to help them. But Golden State, they have not been at their best in a while. They went into the break losing 4 of their last 5 games. That's the worst stretch of defense. 118 points allowed per 100 possessions. Draymond Green, he won't be back right away, but you have Green and you have Klay Thompson, you have Steph Curry, and that is enough to win a championship because they've done it before together. And then you add Wiggins. They're a very good basketball team. I like Golden State a lot. They're the only team that ranks in the top 5 in both three-point percentage at 36%. Which is 5th in the league, and percentage of their shots that have come for three-point range, that's 46%. So I like Golden State doing their thing. They always have been a good team, and I think they're going to hold on to that. I'm going to say they will catch the Phoenix Suns as we get into the playoffs, even if they don't catch them in the regular season. I'm going to go with the number 3 in Big C's NBA power rankings. I'm going to say the Memphis Grizzlies right now. This is a team that can beat anyone. But you got to show me sometimes. The Grizzlies have the league's number 1 offense. In February, averaging 124 points a game scored per 100 possessions. They went into the All-Star break with John Morant and Desmond Bain combining for 74 points against the Blazers. But their defense left for the break game a little bit too early. It was the Blazers' 3rd most efficient game of the season, and their 6-game winning streak came to an end. Now, the Grizzlies still have the 2nd-best record in 18-10 in games played between the 15 teams that went into the break with winning records. Only 10 of their 22 remaining games are against the other 14. They have the league's 3rd easiest remaining schedule. That doesn't make it easy coming into the playoffs. Just because you have an easy schedule to end the season, that may actually count against them because you got to get playoff ready. That's just my opinion. I'm going to say, so they're my number 3. Number 4, the Miami Heat. I like what Miami's doing. They came out of the break in first place in the East, and their top 4 players, Bam Adebayo, the great Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, and Kyle Lowry, have missed an average of 17.5 games. They've all, I think when you think about it, they've all had, I think 4 of the 15 of their 59 games, they're 10-5 in those games. So they have to get better and stay healthy. When I think about this team, their starting lineup continues to be dominant. They've outscored their opponents by 17 points per 100 possessions in 426 total minutes. Butler and Adebayo, I'm going to say Hall of Fame futures. I'm going to say that. I know it's early, but if they keep their projection, they will be. They're a very good team. So I've given you Phoenix. I've given you Golden State. I've given you Memphis. Now I've given you Miami. Okay, I think there's some good teams. I don't want to offend anybody when I say this. I know right now we still got to see how these new players will mesh together, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to go right now. I know maybe I don't want to do it, but I'm kind of have a little indigestion right now even to bring it up. But I'm going to say the number 4 team in Big C's NBA power rankings, I'm going to go begrudgingly with the Denver Nuggets. For the season, the Nuggets have outscored their opponents by about 5.5 points per 100 possessions. Through the first 3 quarters, they've been outscored by 9 for the 100%, was the league's second worst mark. But they went into the break at 39-30 in the fourth quarter at Golden State, coming back with a 7-point deficit, and they found a way to win. And that was Monte Morris hitting a 3-point game winner. But I still think this team, when you look at what they're able to do, the Denver Nuggets, that's why I'm going to have Phoenix, I'm going to have Golden State, Memphis, Miami, and then Denver. I think they're that solid, and we'll just deal with that. After them, I'm going to come up with the Boston Celtics. I think Boston has a really good team. They're a young team. They're coming into their own. They went into the break with a loss to the Pistons, which ended both their 9-game winning streak and their streak of 6 straight games, holding their opponents under a point per possession. Obviously, their defense is good. It's a good team. Marcus Smart and Robert Williams III. And I'm telling you, they have one of the best rising stars in the game, in Jason Tatum. But also you look at Jaylen Brown, Al Horford. But Jason Tatum's a star to me. He's a star in the making. He's a guy that you want the ball in his hands coming down the stretch if you got to have someone to hit the winning shot. So that's my thoughts on those teams. I'm also going to go after Boston, and I really like what Boston's doing. Coming into another, man, if they can just get Harden and Joel Embiid to do their thing, I'm going to bring in Philadelphia. Whether I have them at 6 or 7, I think they're right there with Boston. But I'm going to say Philadelphia right now. Just say Philadelphia is 7, even though they could be better than Boston once they get this combination figured out with Harden and also the great Joel Embiid. But the Sixers were outscored by 45 points in their 2 games against the Celtics. That's why I have Boston slightly ahead of them. But that's before they had Harden now. And then the Bucks last week, and their offense struggles against Boston should not be dismissed. Even with the reset, they're probably going to do a little bit better with Harden and Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey combined for 24 free throw attempts in the win. And now they add a guy who's attempted 1,935 more free throws than any other player in the league over those 10 seasons. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the Sixers. Now that they have Harden, but will Harden be happy over long term? Because he's the number 2 guy on that team. When in Brooklyn, you could also say he was number 2 because it's Kevin Durant's team. And then you could say Harden, or you could say Kyrie. And they were supposed to work together, but they couldn't. But Harden going to Philadelphia, he's not the number 1 option. This is Joel Embiid's team. But if Harden can just play that supportive role like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, or he could be the Batman Robin, he's going to have to be Robin with Joel Embiid. That means you can't hold the ball to the last 4 or 5 seconds and try to shoot it or pass it. Give Joel Embiid the ball with 10 to 12 seconds on the clock and let him decide if he's going to shoot or dish it back out to you. Now, Joel Embiid, he leads the league in usage rate at 37.7%. The 4th highest mark in 26 seasons in which we have a play-by-play data. So I like those two. I just want to see how they mesh. I'm going to say number 8 in Big C's NBA power rankings, the Chicago Bulls. I like the Chicago Bulls right now. The Bulls went into the All-Star break with a 5-game winning streak, and they scored 171 points on 127 possessions. They're an amazing team. DeMar DeRozan's playing like he wants to be an MVP. That good boy had the winning shot over the Hawks last night. And that good boy, think about what he's doing. DeMar DeRozan in 67 points, 47.7 per 36 minutes, 25 and 35 shooting. He's a big-time player. I mean, he's really come on and shown that he wants to take the bull by the horn, the Chicago Bulls. So I like what the Bulls are doing. The Bulls have seen the league's second biggest jump in overall winning percentage to just its 8th biggest jump in point differential per 100 possessions from last season. They're a very good basketball team, and that's why I have them number 8 in Big C's NBA power rankings. I'm going to go to another animal, number 9, the Dallas Mavericks, number 9 in Big C's NBA power rankings. Spencer Dinwiddie played his first 2 games with the Mavs last week, but the great Luka Doncic, he says, not so fast, my friend, isn't carrying a lighter load. He has a huge rate of 42% in February with 49 points in New Orleans in the last game before the break, but coming up the highest single-game usage rate of his career at 54%. The Mavs have scored almost 123 points per 100 possessions. They really shoot threes. Now the Mavs come out of the break with 2 tough road games. They are 6-7 within the top 6 of the Western Conference at 4-2 at home and 2-5 on the road. They're going to have to figure out how to play better on the road. They had a narrow loss to Utah in which they were without Doncic and a 38-point beatdown by the Golden State Warriors. That's nothing to complain about the Golden State Warriors when they're firing all cylinders. They can beat anybody. Number 10 in Big C's NBA power rankings. And I love the NBA All-Star game, the way Cleveland, this is for you. The way the city of Cleveland showed out, had a great representation for the All-Star game. I'm going to put Cleveland at number 10 in Big C's NBA All-Star rankings. I'm telling you, what a great setup. They hadn't had the All-Star game there since 1997, I believe. But the Cavaliers, they have one of those ready for the game break performances last week. Their game in Atlanta was their 5th most efficient offensive performance in the season, but their worst defensive effort, 124 points allowed on 94 possessions. But Atlanta does shoot a lot of threes also. So they went into the break with their first 2-game losing streak of 2022. In their last 2 games against the Hawks, only the only 2 losses. They're 12-2 when they've scored at least 117 points per 100 possessions because they can shoot the 3 ball as well. Now, Markkanen's had a right ankle sprain, initially listed as questionable for the game on Tuesday. Seems likely that he'll be returning for an 11-game absence this week. I like Cleveland. The talk that the Cleveland, they've been 12.5 points per 100 possessions, better than they were last season. They're a much improved team. Number 11 in Big C's NBA power rankings, I have the Utah Jazz playing in the backdrop of the Wasatch Mountains. They're going into the All-Star break with a 7-game winning streak. We'll see what happens. Now, they blew a 12-point lead with less than 6 minutes to go in L.A. on Wednesday. That loss dropped the Jazz to 12-17 in games that were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. They have the league's best record at 24-5 in games that were not within 5 points in the last 5. And they have the great Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert for only one of those 5 losses, November 11 versus Indiana. So they're a good team. Even with their loss to the Lakers, the Jazz are a good team, but man, there's no hope that they're going to end up in the finals in the Western Conference. I just don't see it. They had the number 1 record last year going to the playoffs, and they always find a way to give it up. I know Quentin Snyder's a great coach, but they just don't have the ability to climb the mountain, in my opinion. I'm going to say number 12 in Big C's NBA power rankings last year's, and the reigning NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, led by King Giannis Antetokounmpo, the league's toughest post-break schedule in regards to their opponents' winning percentage. Their opponents win about 55% of the games, 15 of the last 22 games against the other 14 teams, and they have winning streaks. Now, they're just 11-14 within that group thus far. They've allowed 128 points per 100 possessions, so they give up a lot of three-point baskets. They're going to have to improve on that. The Bucks lost 3 of their last 4 games heading into the break, and they're going to have to improve on those numbers if they want to have a chance to not just repeat as NBA champions, but even get back in the swing of things in the playoffs and get through the first or second round, because it's got tougher in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, with Miami and also the 76ers and the Boston Celtics. And you know Brooklyn's going to be doing their thing very soon. Can't wait to see how it turns out. Number 13 in Big C's NBA power rankings. Just my opinion. I know a lot of people may not believe this, but I'm going to say, oh, Canada, our home and native land. You have the Toronto Raptors searching for the 9th guy for Nick Nurse to trust. Thaddeus Young provided some good minutes. They went into the break with an impressive win, and Fred VanVleet did his thing versus Minnesota. But the most interesting thing is that the Raptors have grabbed 89% of available defensive rebounds. They really attacked the board, and that's the team that's they can make some noise. You know, when a Raptor grabs you with those claws, you probably got to get a rebound. The Raptors have seen the league's biggest drop in the percentage of their shots that have come from three-point range. So they're trying to get down inside the basketball, and that may just help them. The Raptors, they're ranked last in assist percentage and have recorded assists on just 54% of those plays. I tell you, when I look at a team like Toronto, they're going to be fine, but they're not going to come out of the Eastern Conference as champions, and that's just my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go, as well as I as well as I think I should, I'm going to go with this team, number 14 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings. The Minnesota Timberwolves. It's amazing. Anthony Edwards did his thing, and he got his first win against LaMelo Ball on Tuesday. After turning his ankle, Edwards did not play in the second half, and the Wolves' overtime win versus Charlotte. Now, Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat, who won the three-point shootout contest, that may hurt them in the playoffs. He can make his money down inside the paint, but he knows he's a three-point shootout champion. So maybe he'll go out and stay away from the basket and start shooting threes that could hurt them. We'll see what happens if he goes back down inside the paint to make a living. All's fair in love and war. But I think when you look at this team in Minnesota, the Wolves have seen the league's third biggest jump in winning percentage and his second biggest jump in points differential per 100 possessions at right about 7. That's a team that can score points. But if the big cat thinks he's a three-point shooter now in the NBA games as opposed to the All-Star game, I think that could hurt them. Their starting lineup has outscored his opponents by 22 points per 100 possessions, the second best mark among 24 lineups that have played at least 200 minutes together. They're a good team, but I don't think they'll go far in the playoffs. Number 15 in Big C's NBA Power Rankings, and I know everybody may have their own opinion about it. I'm going to put them here because I know they're better than where they are right now, and they need Kevin Durant. But I'm going to say the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets were able to put an end to their 11-game losing streak with a comfortable win over the Kings, and they followed up with a comeback win, 28 points down at Madison Square Garden, and they ran out of gas against Washington on Thursday. But Seth Curry, who was a bit of a slump before being traded, shot 12 of 23 from three-point range. So that's Curry for 3. He did his thing in his first 3 games with Brooklyn. Now, Cam Thomas took over down the stretch against the Knicks, but I'm thinking they're going to have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. They're starting to, they're changing COVID protocols. So they're going to have most likely Kyrie Irving healthy down the stretch, but Durant has to come back healthy. That's amazing. They're the only team with a losing record at home, 13-15, and winning record on the road, 18-13 in my power rankings. But I still know game recognizes game, and when they get Kevin Durant back with Kyrie Irving, and they have Simmons to get rebounds and not have to shoot as much, I think that's going to help Brooklyn be a formidable team in the playoffs. We'll see, but that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. So that's Big C's NBA Power Rankings. I want to take what's called the Big C Pulse, also known as the Big C Timeout. I'll be back in just a moment. All right, we're back with the Big C Pulse, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 23 podcast applications all over the universe and streaming on 4 TV applications. Tonight's schedule, beautiful February 25th, 2022. The NBA schedule. It's good to have basketball back after a beautiful All-Star weekend ceremony, seeing Steph Curry drop 50 in Cleveland. And then LeBron James hit the game-winning basket. All's fair in love and war. Tonight's action, Toronto is at Charlotte. Oklahoma City, the Thunder, are at Indiana. Houston is doing their things down in Orlando. You have San Antonio playing at Washington. The game on TV is the Miami Heat at Madison Square Garden taking on the New York Knickerbockers. That game's already on ESPN. Game I can't wait to see is Philadelphia at Minnesota. Both of them made the Big C's NBA Power Rankings, and to see how Harden and Embiid can do their thing against the big cat, the NBA three-point shooting champion, all's fair in love and war. Isn't it something? One of the NBA's greatest three-point shooters is James Harden, but the NBA three-point shooting champion is Karl Anthony Towns, the big cat. We will see what happens as they will show off tonight in Minnesota. Game's already underway. New Orleans Pelicans down in the Valley of the Sun, taking on the Phoenix Suns. That's a game that should be dominated by Phoenix. And then Dallas up in the Wasatch Mountains taking on the Utah Jazz, as well as the game of the night, the Battle of LA, the LA Clippers. They're taking on the Los Angeles Lakers at Crypto.com Arena. And may the team, I can guarantee one thing for sure, the Los Angeles will win that game. Los Angeles will win that game. Los Angeles will definitely win that game all fair and Leavenworth. You know, oftentimes we think about some of the great things that happen in the world of sports and how can we get more equity in the world of sports. I'm just going to run down just my top 10 in women's college basketball. I know college basketball doesn't get the same type of acclaim that the men's sports will get. They don't attract the same type of crowds, even though they can. It's just not the same way. But we know I want to do my part just to add today on a beautiful Friday, college basketball's top 10 Big C style. Just my opinion. I'm sticking with it. Number 10 is Indiana. Them good boys are number 10 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 9 is UConn. The Huskies are number 9 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 8 would be the LSU. They come in at number 8 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 7, the Baylor Bears, coming in at number 7 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 6, the Iowa State Cyclones, coming in number 6 in Big C's college women's basketball power rankings. Number 5, the Michigan Wolverines, coming in at number 5 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 4, and wouldn't this be an amazing Final Four for the women? Number 4, Louisville, the Cardinal, coming in number 4 in Big C's college women's basketball power rankings. Number 3, North Carolina State, coming in at number 3 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. Number 2, the Stanford Cardinal down on the farm, coming in number 2 in Big C's women's college basketball power rankings. And number 1 is South Carolina, coming in at number 1 in Big C's college women's basketball power rankings. Give those women some praise. Give them praise, praise, praise. All fair in Leavenworth. Really love this time of year when a lot of good things are happening in sports. You know, I do want to just talk about, before I close out today's show, you look at all the players in Russia that play in the NHL. Some of them are coming out speaking about what's going on with Ukraine and Russia and how it's heartbreaking because many have families that are there. And it'd be pretty intellectually vapid just to talk about sports only. And I just want to say, I don't know if this even it's like a way to just say things without having a lot of meaning. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. I hope that daytime will prevail as world leaders get together and talk about how to put an end to madness. All's fair in love and war, and I really do hope that happens. But something on a lighter note to finish today's show with in Big C Sports Podcast on a beautiful February the 25th, 2022. What the world is going on with baseball? Baseball is deciding that they're willing to risk the whole season over some nickels and dimes. When you look at baseball's economic structure, they're down in Jupiter, Florida. Look at their economic structure. They said it hasn't been fair to players for a while now. The top sport in the United States paying the most money, guaranteed money, Major League Baseball. But baseball's economic structure hasn't been fair to players. What universe are they living in? What universe are they living in? It's been great for a lot of players, once you're out of the minors anyway, especially for the younger players who increasingly shoulder the bulk of both ends of the field production and the public marketability of the sport. Their compensation prescribed by collective bargaining agreement that is only rewritten a couple of times every decade, and not the market forces that turn baseball into a $10.7 billion industry. The way that teams operate has changed dramatically, and the way that players are compensated has not. Baseball makes the most money out of the professional sports of the United States, and they're saying they need more. I just don't understand it. At some point in time, be thankful for what you got. And to destroy the game by they've already missed some spring training games. We're getting to the point where they can miss some regular season games. I'm not just clamoring for the players. They have a good union. But there's a lot of people that make money at baseball games. The vendors, people that serve food, people that do parking, that clean up the stadiums. There's a lot of business outside of stadiums where you leave a game, you go to a restaurant to get a bite to eat. So whatever it is with the collective bargaining agreement, you don't have to be a billionaire to feel bad that you're benefiting disproportionately from a particular economic system. Baseball is played very well. If they can complain about not making enough money, everybody should. But much has been made about the pace of negotiations. As this winter, the Major League Baseball lockout has come to, it's threatening opening day now. It's threatening opening day. The league said, because players got to get warmed up. They can't just start out opening day and start playing. They got to get into the rhythm of things. But I know it's a different category of money when you're talking about guys making millions and $100 million contracts and people saying, well, we need more money because we just don't get paid enough. Baseball's not making people run to the TV screen the way football does, or even basketball. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I hope that everybody has a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee. Rumble, young man, rumble. With all you've got to use, how can you lose? Ali would say, hey, I'm pretty. I can't possibly be beat. All these big sea burgers make me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. I'm rumbling, yes, man, rumbling. I love that shit. My beautiful mother always says there's never evidence used for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that crap, pick up the phone and ask for help. Because no man, woman, or child should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.